Welcome, friends, to another exciting episode of A VGM Journey. And I'm your host, The Messenger. The track that we're playing into this week's show is Rainbow Route from the game Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. And it was composed by Hironobu, Inagaki, and Atauyoshi Isemara. I feel like it's been too long since I've released an episode of this show, and I'm thinking, hey, got some really good music here. Let's get right into it. And we're going to kick things off with a track from Mortal Kombat 1. This is The Flesh Pits, and this was composed by Wilbert Roget II. That track that you just heard, that was The Flesh Pits from the game Mortal Kombat 1. It was composed by Wilbert Roget II. I've been playing quite a bit of Mortal Kombat 1, and I've been really enjoying it. And one aspect of the game that I've been really enjoying is the soundtrack for it. And I may be in the minority for this, but I did like the soundtrack for Mortal Kombat 11. But I will agree with a lot of other people when I say that Mortal Kombat 1 was a step up music wise. And the thing that they've been doing for the last 2 or 3 Mortal Kombat games is that each round on the stage has their own song, and that you guys listen to all 3 rounds of the Flesh Pits. With round 1, you get kind of a nice electronic sound, and there's a little bit of this string, but it doesn't do anything super crazy. And then round 2 comes in, which personally, I think that's the one that I like the best out of the 3, where it introduces that heavy guitar. But then round 3 gets real interesting with the demonic vocals, and it brings back the round 1 theme a bit. And like towards the end, it gets really chaotic as time starts to run out. And you definitely have this feeling of literally do or die, and that the match is pretty much up for grabs. I'm actually a little glad that I'm just talking about the music and not having to show the visuals for this stage, because I will tell you, I think it's pretty gnarly looking. So you have these poor people just like stitched together with like weird body parts and stuff, and it's like really weird to look at. And I think that instead of me kind of just describing that kind of stuff, maybe it's best that we move on to our next track, which happens to be a request from Heat Override. They wanted me to play the track Godfrey, First Elden Lord from the game Elden Ring, and it was composed by Tomisawa. That track that you just heard, that was Godfrey, First Elden Lord from the game Elden Ring. It was composed by Tomisawa, and this was a request by Heat Override. So thank you, Heat Override, for that request. All he really said about the track was, I choose this song for its climactic sound to a wonderful game, and it's not too long. I would have to agree with him that this is a pretty wonderful song. And I've heard that a lot of people really enjoy Elden Ring. However, it's just not my kind of game. But that doesn't stop me from enjoying the music. And I'm assuming that this is for a boss. So I definitely get an epic kind of back and forth feel from the track, which makes a whole lot of sense with the choir and the horns and the strings. Literally everything that was in that track. And I could be totally wrong about this, but I can picture this Godfrey to be like a giant hulking man, and maybe he's got a sword. I'm sure you guys will tell me that I'm completely wrong about that, but it is fun to imagine. And I'm sure a lot of other podcasters are going to say this, and I could be wrong about the game, but from my understanding is that it is a brutally difficult game that is super well made, and it has a fantastic soundtrack, just like the Dark Souls games. So I just want to once again say thank you for that request, Heat Override. That was really good. We're going to move on to another request, this time coming from Meatbug, and they wanted me to play the track Tower of the Shadow of Death from the game Ys, and this was composed by Yuzo Koshiro. That track that you just heard, that was Tower of the Shadow of Death. It's from the game Ys 1, Ancient Ys Vanished, which I will have to say that this is the PC-88 version of the track. It was composed by Yuzo Koshiro, and this was a request by Meatbug. So thank you, Meatbug, for that request. This was a really good song, and it's crazy to think that this was one of the first games that Yuzo Koshiro composed music for. And even at that time, he was pushing the boundaries of what video game music can sound like. So I think for this track specifically, it's both rocking, but you also get the vibe of exploring a dangerous dungeon. And it really seemed to help that he had a bit of a mastery over the FM sound and was able to compose a piece of music that was like that. And it really set the tone for what the rest of the series is like. So I'll tell you, I don't know too much about the E series, but all the games have really fantastic soundtracks. And I can tell you that Purnell from Rhythm and Pixels, he would agree with me on that. So I just want to say once again, thank you, Meatbug, for that request. We're going to move on to another track that's pretty rockin', but in a much dirtier kind of way. And this is coming from the game Skitchin. The track is Smog Dog, and this track was composed by Jeff Van Dyke. That track that you just heard, that was Smog Dog from the game Skitchin. It was composed by Jeff Van Dyke. And that's going to just about do it for the show this week. If you like what you've been listening to, have your friends check out the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now we're on TerraPlayer, which is a really cool website that hosts a bunch of podcasts and even some other VGM podcasts. So it's definitely worth a look. You can email the show at vgmjourney@yahoo.com, and you could also check us out on X at VGMJourney. We also have a Discord server for the show, which I will provide a link for that in the show notes, where you can hang out with your fellow VGM journeymen and talk about games, music, and even look at some cool art. I'm also going to play things out with one more track, and this is a really good one. This is Final Area from the game Shatterhand. It was composed by Iku Mizutani and Hiroyuki Iwatsuki. Have a good one, everyone.